The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Cool. So welcome to our Thursday version of the watch list. This is probably going to be abbreviated. I've got to get out of here. I'm going to be on Making Money with Charles Payne this afternoon, sometime between 2 and 3. They think 2:50, but they want me there before 2 just in case. So they do have a lot of coffee in the green room, so that'll be good. Going to be talking about UFO technology. If anyone wants to tune into that on Fox Business, so I guess we'll dive into kind of what we're looking at. First name, I think, in order of priority is TTD, Trade Desk.
Yes.
So I bought that this morning on the dip. So what I kind of look for on some of these earnings releases is I want to see companies that are announcing, issues that are related to AI, meaning, AI is making some form of their business obsolete. That's not what messed up Trade Desk. So I took the summary, actually, I think I took the entire transcript of their earnings call, threw it into ChatGPT this morning and said, hey, should I short this? And ChatGPT was like, no, you shouldn't. He's like, okay, should I buy it? You're like, well, yeah, you should buy the dip. So I bought the dip. And Jeremy, I think you're also sniffing around this one this morning.
Yeah, I'm looking for some decent debit spreads. And typically when I see a big move like this, it's almost uncanny that they end up giving half back. So this could be a very good BTFD moment. And the BTFD crowd should hit it right around $82, I think. And then I'm going to watch for probably that to hit a low today. It's gone to 82.29 so far. I'll look for a reversion trade to like 105. So if I find an opportunity to grab some debit spreads, maybe run a 100-105 combo in here and just take it for a long back to mean. Seems like a good play to me. I love these big red candles like that. It's almost like you look at any of them you see in the previous time, they usually give about half back, every one of them. So it's a pretty high probability trade.
And and again, their issues just did not seem like they'd be issues that would warrant a 31% drop.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's fun because like you compare this to like a lot of things where you see a big, we used to call them dead cat drop or dead cat bounce plays where we catch them running back to resistance. Most of those tend to stay bearish for a while. This one is where it's inverse to that because you have no real reason for it to be here. Others where you get a dead cat bounce, it has a reason. There was something wrong. It, had a failing of some kind. Typically they'll stay bearish, but when you have something that just drops for no real reason, usually it snap back half pretty quick. So this is a prime setup for that. I like the 105 area.
Cool, great minds. Next thing on my list. So, I think I mentioned on this a while back, I went back into the GLP-1s. Basically I used GPT to try to figure out if RFK Jr., who I think just got actually like confirmed for real like a few minutes ago, if he would likely have an impact on those drugs. And, it really didn't think so. And again, I mean, you run into people that you haven't seen in a while and they're like thin.
Right.
You hear about like ancillary health benefits. Again, nothing that I would ever take. You also hear about people going blind. But it just does seem like a trend you want to be invested in. Interestingly, though, while Lilly has been doing well, NVO has been getting its butt kicked. And I'm in a bunch of different chat groups because I like ideas being thrown at me left and right. And they made a comment this morning that what they're hearing is that the street is looking at Lilly's drug being well ahead of NVO's drug, which is, what you're seeing. And I think you're seeing, NVO's down today. Yeah, Lilly's up. So you're seeing that more today. So,
Right.
again, I put that into ChatGPT and, basically acknowledged, people are looking at Lilly's current drug is better than NVO, but NVO is going to keep innovating. Lilly's going to keep innovating. So it's not like the race is over. So, basically suggested that I hold on to NVO. So, I'm doing it. The chart's pretty ugly compared to the Lilly chart, but, I still feel like, this is a trend you want to be on, unless, RFK is able to do something about it, which again, I don't see him doing it. And I think he's got other more important things on his mind.
Right.
What are you thinking on these?
So I think for me, LLY is kind of at a wait and see point. It has made a pretty nice measured move right back to our angular target we put on there a while back. This is a messy chart for me, by the way. I got a lot of lines on this thing. Looks like a 70s coffee table at a party. But you get into comparing to NVO, and NVO is at its bear target. So NVO, I would expect, is kind of lined up for more of a bounce from here. We had this bear target on this pivot here to 79, and we just looked left to find it. It's pretty obvious right in that bar. Yeah, it can go lower here. We got a couple other levels to get to, but for where I'd expect to find a bounce, it's right about there. And typically, come back, test this liquidity zone here, maybe even give us a reversion trade up here to 105 again. It's possible. I think for bulls, NVO is a better setup, and an LLY is a wait and see. Just in my opinion, looking at the chart, because we're right at resistance here, where if it does break out, it's got to get through this first, and then we could see a primary, secondary setup where we get all the way out here to this extension. Sometimes I'll run trend lines in place of the old box when I'm just looking for measured moves, because in certain applications, and this is one of them, you've got a big wedge here, and eventually they either break out, run for liquidity, and then get shorted, or they run up against resistance and just fade. So oftentimes when you're looking for a breakout to buy high, sell higher, this is the setup you look for. And if it breaks the line, you just run long. Whereas compared to NVO, we're looking for more of a bounce off of a support level and just a return to reversion. So in my opinion, the higher probability trade is actually NVO, even though LLY has a better drug. I think that rumor's already been in the end of its extension phase here.
Interesting on TTD. I just got a note again. I'm in all sorts of different chats. 1, 2, 3, 4 analysts maintained a buy rating on it, which is interesting. I think analysts are generally clueless, but a lot of times on these things you see, TTD down 30%, XYZ Financial lowers them from a strong buy to a hold. It's like, all right, dude, couldn't you have done that yesterday? So it's interesting to see that these guys, they've all lowered their price target a little, but that makes sense given the price is 31% lower. So take that for what it's worth.
It's got potential. I love a dead cat bounce. I scalped a sub 10-cent dead cat bounce this morning, so that's one of my favorite MOs. I do like this one a little longer though. I wonder how long it'll take to get back to a reversion. But yeah, if we learn anything from this earnings call drop here going into earnings, it's got potential to rush back pretty quick. You might find some serious liquidity right here, so watch for that reversal, and it should be on a 5-minute chart at the least, and just run right along these levels.
Cool.
I'm gonna stay tuned. I'm gonna start looking for enough implied volatility crush to get into some spreads and probably run 45 TTE and just ride the trend.
Very cool.
That's my plan. We'll see if it works out. I'll keep you guys posted.
All right. Next one on my list, Tempest AI.
Yeah.
So again, an example of where I'm going to use GPT. I own it. It every day, including today, becomes a bigger and bigger part of my portfolio, which, for a company that I don't think has any earnings or any potential for earnings anytime soon is always a concern. William Blair came out and lowered their rating yesterday. So I took that report, I put it into GPT, and basically they suggested what I was already thinking, which is don't get out of the position, but certainly cut it. So, I did that this morning.
Yeah, it's looking like on the chart it was a good time to take profit, that's for sure. I often notice these broadening patterns pretty readily, even though this is a fairly fresh IPO, considering it launched just last year here. You get these broadening patterns here, and they love to go back to regression. And this is right at that angular resistance here, so it'd be a great time to take some profit off and wait for the next move. It can be wrong. It can go and just run parabolic forever. Someone said the market can remain irrational much longer than you can remain liquid. That's the truth.
John Maynard Keynes.
Yes. And I'm glad you can quote the guy, because I'm horrible with names. So,
I am too, but when you're an economics major, that's a name you remember. That one sticks.
For sure. Would I go long here? Probably not. I'm going to wait for this to see what we get out of this. But reversion trades are kind of a higher probability setup in something like this. So yeah, I would definitely say this is a good time to take some profit and wait for the next move. And if you already got in off of that liquidity bounce here, right off this liquidity zone. So I remember we talked about this not so long ago where it could melt through this zone, and it did. I didn't have this angular target here, but it's obvious now. I would say if you got in down here and you want to take some risk off here, it'd be a good idea. Maybe have a trailing stop back here at like 82.50 or so. And then if you wanted to stay in this for a potential, parabolic run, it's off type of move. And again, look for extensions. So if we go and take the old, this is a trick that I kind of developed, and it works really well. Take the second impulse, size it up, regression to high, regression to low, doesn't matter. Stick that up there because it gives you price targets. So if this thing is going to break out of resistance here on this broadening pattern, which is pretty rare, but when it does happen, usually you get liquidated a half or whole measured move out from the second impulse. It's very typical. And you've seen enough of them, you just glance at it and know it. So like $95 would be a good target if you left your runner on and you got long down here. You did good. Extension 105 is possible, but that's going to be like where everybody dreams it's going to go, and we don't trade on hopium. So definitely be aware of those targets, but don't go shooting, swinging for the fences if you're already long here. Take a chill pill with it. You had another couple.
Yeah, go ahead.
You had a couple that interested me that were really, really sweet, and I think Adobe. If you want to go there next.
Yeah. So Adobe. That's that's been a holding of mine for a while. There was an article that came out this morning. Again, what I love to do is I read through the media. I take articles, I throw them into ChatGPT, so I don't even have to read the article and just say, hey, I own Adobe. Anything, good, bad, ugly, indifferent is, Adobe is a, good, lower volatility AI holding. And, for my portfolio, I like a mix of kind of, the stodgy names that, aren't going to move a ton, but aren't going to kick your butt with,
right.
The names like a Tempest AI that can, quadruple.
Right. And, it's just diversifying your risks in your portfolio. And that's kind of the name of the game. You can go and park some cash in something like this and just let it melt up slowly while you go and scalp the rest of the world. This one makes sense for a reversion trade, as you're seeing on my weekly chart there. It's like just perfect for a half back of the previous high, right to that liquidity zone. Measured move blocks take it right there with the daily and the 2 hour, right up to the base of it. And then just be mindful that there'll be some profit taking here. And if things consolidate here and break out, we can take the rest of the trade to angular right up here, just a big descending channel. So it's got mostly a bullish bias here. we're seeing a little pullback here after we break a resistance point. It's very typical to come back and test it for support. And today it's done exactly that. So watch for this to remain a good bull trend from here. This will be your fail safe. I wouldn't set your stops here. I'd set them down a little lower, but you're looking for continuation of this breakout. Pretty sweet setup. I do like Adobe.
Yeah, I do too. What else do we got? I mean, this morning I took a look at Chile. I'm not, nothing great there. I did as a trade. I bought. And why I looked at Chile, just so newer people know, I think I didn't do a deep dive into it, but I think my biggest moneymaker last year were Argentine stocks, and that market just ramped on a move from the left to the right, and then Malay being able to cut all that he cut, and and those stocks just took off. I got out when they looked like they were topping. I did get into ARGT yesterday for a trade, just short term. I'm still looking at all the Argentine names, but again, they do look toppy to me. What I want to find is the next Argentina. And so, Eliant Capital tweeted something about Chile last night, and he was on Argentina early, and I think he's on Chile right now, and it's been up 16%. Yeah, I did put that into ChatGPT, and it doesn't. I mean, we've got elections. You don't know whether the conservative guy is going to win, and it's not the same setup as Argentina. So I'm going to keep looking at it, but I didn't do anything with it. But certainly, now that you've seen Malay and now Trump, I'm going to be laser focused on other countries that, shift from left to right to see if there are any, potential Argentine opportunities. I mean, that just may be a once in a lifetime thing, but we'll see.
It could give you some good news. Is there a ticker to look for or an ETF for Chile?
Yeah, what was it? It's the MSCI Chile ETF.
While you're doing that, I'm going to call out
ECH.
something. Again?
ECH.
EECH?
I mean, it's gone up a lot for, it's basically a straight line all year.
There it is. ECH.
So yeah, I wouldn't be buying it here.
No, I think it's pretty parabolic.
Right. It's crazy.
Although the Fib level of $30 looks good, it's kind of a slow mover here, but it's just above the previous high. It can get there. Certainly going to be a momentum trade. And I wouldn't go in here. It's too late, but keep an eye on this thing. It could actually break out above that eventually.
All right. Well, my car is about a minute away, so I'm going to hop. Yeah, okay. Pat. SQM is another one, a lithium name in Chile. Thank you, Pat.
Awesome.
I'm going to turn off my microphone and camera just because I'm not sure what happens if I leave. But yeah, tune in to Charles Payne. Hear me talk UFOs.
Will do. And then I'd love to have you on with a webinar for that. That's got a lot of interest on my side.
Let's do it next week.
Sounds great. Right on, man. See you again. I'll continue a couple things out here, and then we'll probably wrap it up right at 12 o'clock because I've got a couple things to do too. So first, let me adjust my output for the video side here. Hold on one second. Nope, not that one. I got too many things going on here. We'll just keep it on the old one. It's got the top of my head. I'll just move over. How about that? Sorry about that. So anyway, SQM here, that's actually a pretty good setup here. We might see this go for a reversion. Looking for pretty much this wick to be revisited right in here. And let's lay that out on a daily. Resistance right there. Throw a pivot on. This may make a market structure move more or less and just range around underneath this pivot here at $41.90, $42 for a little while. But if it does break out, the reversion target's right up here. So definitely keep an eye on that market. I mean, that could be something that's got potential. Lithium, of course, is a competitive space. So, I mean, Chile's probably got a pretty good output of it, but they're not a very big country. So we might roam around in here, and if there's a serious demand on it, we'll see their margin go up on lithium pretty well, and then maybe get us a nice reversion trade. So I'll keep an eye on it. A couple other mentions that were in the Heat Strategy mailer this morning, and I'll get onto those two real quick. But Adobe, I wanted to call out. We already had that target on there, but the other one that I was watching, Crowd, I had it on the screen here a moment ago, hit exactly our 443 target. That was that premium measured move setup. Now we're looking for maybe a continuation beyond here, but be aware that it can pull back in range here for a little while first. I've called this thing out 7 ways from Sunday on all of our socials and everything, and it's been playing ball just beautifully. But this is where it's time to pay yourself and then maybe leave a runner or two on. If it does break out, it can make an explosive move, of course. But so far, that has been just a glorious play. So keep an eye on this thing further. If you're already in, cool, but I wouldn't go buying it here. This is right at our target for where I'm taking most of my position off. So, I'm not saying that you should follow my exact lead, but everything in the chart tells us that this is where we're looking for. Let's take profit and wait and see. So I'm going to hang on to maybe a runner position, but my main position I've taken profit this morning on. I'm good there. Another mention here is Robinhood, man. There were some things that were said in our community about this, as well as a couple other places that I tend to linger. Robinhood offering futures trading. And my gosh, if you put some total rookie traders into futures, you're throwing them to the wolves, is what the census is here. So certainly, if you're going to start trading futures in Robinhood, be careful. Get some understanding of how to scalp things first, because futures contracts move so fast they can really take the wind out of your sail if you're trying to be a new trader. So if you got some experience, cool. That's a hell of a tool. I'm going to use it. But if you're going to be jumping into the fire on that one, just be cautious. Learn something first. Go find somebody to study under, or do your own studying, whatever it takes. I'm not trying to sell a service on that, but if you look at my history, I Googled just about everything before I even started taking trades. When I jumped into futures, it was because I was already really good at day trading options on SPY and QQQ, and futures was just the obvious next step. But it can be an absolute game changer if you're really good at it. But if you're not, it's going to really be a trial by fire first. So just be cautious with that. But on the chart, we're looking at a pretty clean measured move. It broke up for a nice 1.5 on that measure move from earnings here. I don't have to draw it. You can see there's primary, secondary, and a 1.5 is done. And of course, profit taking resumed exactly at that mark. Where can we go next? Probably back to support here around 57, 58 bucks is very likely. And then from there, I wouldn't say take a short on it, but I'd probably wait for a support around there to maybe see about riding the rest of this trend out for a long. But right now, it looks like it's getting profit taken right off. Breakout bar first will give you a short-term reversion. So the bears will be taking this probably to about 59.50 or so, just to give half the bar back. It's pretty typical. But keep an eye on it there. Once it hits there, it can consolidate and bounce and give you some more trend. So definitely stay nimble with this one. If you were already in before that earnings, you probably took some profit off this morning after you saw this. So just be ready to maybe adjust the position and find some advantage later on. Honorable mention. Let's see. He did mention TEM. That was kind of right up to our target. Pardon me. I'm getting a little choked up here. My allergies are going nuts today. We did melt through that liquidity zone. We did hit our target if it resumes, we'll break out and hit that. But what else is going to go on? Let's look at well, the other fish in the sea that people love to trade. It's the highest traded ETF out there, SPY. You mentioned that it's kind of in a hurry to go nowhere, but look further left. It's already been going. So we're looking at this nice clean hammer here. And if this closes on Friday with a clean hammer here, we should expect a run at that all-time high at least once afterwards. If it rejects there, can it be a blow off top? Sure, it's been parabolic for a long time here. That's due for a good pullback, but it doesn't mean it has to. A chart never has to do anything you tell it to do. It's just going to do its thing. So let's drill down. Looking at a primary move here, if you were to block this out, you've got this size. I always come and split the difference into consolidation and eyeball it. You don't have to be dead on. Maybe adjust a little bit. But potentially, if SPY continues to run and the market continues to run up, we did see Trump pull the Band-Aid off on this situation, and now all hell's breaking loose in politics. Well, what is the next logical move? Just above that high, probably looking for a move to about 613, 614 or so. If it rejects hard there, get ready because it'll give this trend back pretty well to support. But if it continues, well, we got the 626 target pretty readily available for a nice measured move up. It is possible, but stay tight on this one. This one's going to be a tricky one to play because at any moment, you know who can pick up his phone and drop a tweet and change everything. So be ready for that. In the meantime, Q has been responding very well to these two liquidity zones. We've been making most of our smoother trades in QQQ, and we plotted out some targets this morning and killed it. We did very well, but now we're seeing a pullback. And we're looking for either a slow consolidation in this pivot range above and up to the upper edge of this liquidity zone, and maybe give us a continuation for a nice measured move trend up here to the 536 level. But be patient here because we can also give half back. We can also come right back to support here about 528.50 if this rejects. So stay pretty spry on this one. It's been trading in this range for a while. It's got the propensity to stay in there, but if it does break out, yeah, we can get out of that zone and go way higher. So things are looking more or less long-term bullish, but just be cautious in this market environment. We're going to see some fast things happen first, so be ready. One other thing I got maybe time for. Yes, Apple. There we go. So Apple gave us some follow through after that liquidity zone. We're looking for an attached target up into this pivot here, the 246.50 area. It's kind of made the semi-textbook double bottom here, but did have some follow through to run a little higher. Be aware that the daily 50s right here where we stopped. If we reject that, we can pull back to the middle of this liquidity zone to grab some buyers and continue the trend. But if we can't find buyers there, sure, we can go right back for half, right down here to 230, kind of typical. We do have the long-term targets up here. This measured move is still valid, but just be aware that if it rejects at half, about 252.50 again, we could see another half back, and this just ends up being a long consolidation period, into the middle of the year pretty easily. So kind of be spry on this one, but ultimately we still have that long-term target of 282. It just might take till the rest of the year to do it. It's kind of a slow grower. This is very similar to ones that we always say it's a great place to park cash for a little while you go scalp the rest of the world. This is kind of one of those plays. Apple's been in that mix. Short term though, we're looking for this pivot to at least be approached. And we have gone through the liquidity zone. It's got pretty good potential to get there. Can we call that? I think we're pretty much set. I mean, we really are just going to be waiting for some more news to kind of hit the wire for the rest of this week and into the beginning of next week. And then we should see things give us a clue for long-term trends on a lot of the major players here, a lot of the big caps. And the chips, that's kind of where a lot of weight is. And if you looked at AMD here, it certainly has just about met our bear target. Um, can we bounce here if news changes? Sure, but this is going to be some critical areas, and we know that the chips have a lot of weight in the S&P as well as QQQ. Be a little bit leery of what this is going to do next. So give it some time to work out some consolidation, and either we go for reversion trades or we start to maybe find out our depth here. And I don't want to see AMD go below this 104 target, but it can. This is kind of one of the canaries in the coal mine, but compared to like Microsoft, it's kind of a no-brainer. It's all doing about the same thing. They're in critical support. We're not really sure if they're going to reverse here or not. Things are uncertain in the chip world, and we know that tariffs are playing a big part of that, as well as pressure. We've got a lot going on. We've got AI. We've got all the server farms we need to build, and I think my focus personally, it's going to be NVIDIA. They've got pretty much everything in line to be able to benefit from this overall over the long run. So that's why I decided to start wheel trading NVDX, and it's been very successful so far. And I'm just scratching the surface on it. I'm just getting started. But NVIDIA is kind of always going to be that stock you want to own. And it's right there with Apple in that same sense. Good place to park money and let it grow. Would I buy it here? I think I'm good for trading it here, but I'm not going to just up and add a long-term position here. I'd rather just make premium wheel trading in NVDX until I see NVIDIA step into lining up the rest of this trend. It's got a little ways to go before it gets my attention for an investment standpoint because it's already been pretty well hyped. Can't be a situation where you look at market structure from here, but look left, dude. That's been flat for so long before all of this. This is realistically parabolic. Sky is the limit, but knowing where those limits are likely to reject, at least in the short term, and make some trades would be ideal. I would love to own it, above 117 for the long term, sure. But for now, I think my alpha is in trading it. And then later on, if it breaks above these levels, sure, it can continue trending. So be a smart investor and make the ability to compound a position by trading first, and then maybe look at investing in things like NVIDIA. And no, there's a lot of headwinds in there. You got a lot of stuff going on, both politically and globally, economically. All right. Well, I think it's time to wrap up. We're at 12 o'clock. We're a little short today. Just kind of some stuff that came up. We all got some stuff that we got to get to. So we'll see you guys next week on Tuesday, and we will bring some pretty decent swing trades with us next week. I think this is the way things are looking. So we'll see you then.